Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are the greatest, but let me play devil's advocate here. Let's see. So, no, that's a good thing. That's definitely not a problem. Reese's, you did it. You stumped this charming devil.
Scott for Scots here. Do you hear that? Bring the mic in close. That's not how the grass should sound. There's weeds everywhere in this lawn. It's time to take action with Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action. It gets 3 jobs done at once. Kills weeds, prevents crabgrass, and feeds your lawn so it keeps growing strong. Ah, much better.
Get a bag of Scott's Triple Action today. It's guaranteed, or your money back.
Feed your lawn. Feed it.
The Purple Mafia, with your host, Paladino Joey.
Well, we'll see. The doctors would disagree, but what do they know?
So let's just say that you'll pay me because it's in your interest to pay me.
Is it worth it? I mean, you've won. Do you want to wipe everybody out?
I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. Just my enemies. That's all. My father taught me many things. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
These are wonderful things that we've achieved, and there's no limit to where we can go from here.
Welcome to the family once again here on Purple Mafia. Today is Tuesday, August 18th, 2009, episode number 36 of Purple Mafia. Again, my voice is not completely perfect as I'm still fighting off the very, very tail end of a summer cold, but what really matters today is today will go down in history for the Minnesota Vikings. The day they acquired Brett Favre. And, all of last episode, I mean, think about it. I mean, somebody was listening to my show, or at very least, great minds think alike, as somebody out there was thinking the exact same thing, and it was probably just about everybody with the Minnesota Vikings. The quarterback situation was alarming. The quarterback situation was disappointing. And today, the Minnesota Vikings address that issue, and the unexpected becomes a reality. Brett Favre is a Minnesota Viking. All right, but first and foremost, before I get more deep into that, this is Purple Mafia, which is available on thesportstuff.com and iTunes. I thank each and every one of you for downloading and listening to this show. Thesportstuff.com does have a message board. We encourage you to sign up. Simply click on the button on the right-hand side of the website. It says TSS Sports. That is how you can sign up. It is 100% free and 100% fun. That is how you can get on our message boards, interact with other members, including other podcasters. You can vote on our polls on there. Do check it out. It will be worth your trouble. Again, 100% free and 100% fun. All right. Well, today on episode 36, the emphasis will be 99% on Brett Favre and, the other little bit. We're going to have a short, abbreviated review of the Indianapolis Colts game, as some of it's irrelevant. The main topic, which was the quarterback situation, again, was going to be brought up. That was going to be the main topic of that game. Tavares Jackson and Sage Rosenfels in that game. But that's pretty much irrelevant now, at least for the time being, as Brett Favre is the starting quarterback of this team, and he will start in against Kansas City this Friday, which is just very exciting. So with no further ado, we'll take a break here. We're going to put both ads once again, and we'll be back right after this. Here on thesportstuff.com, the new fast-breaking Wolves are bursting on the scene with Timberwolves Explosion. Hear about this exciting new era with Al Jefferson, Kevin Love, Johnny Flynn, and new coach Kurt Rambis. Check us out on thesportstuff.com and on iTunes, where we cover the Wolves like nobody else. Show your true blue, download and listen to this explosion of Timberwolves basketball.
Here on thesportstuff.com, we're toughing up on Brave the Wild with Palladino. Join me, Palladino, as we brave the Minnesota Wild Hockey Club on our way to the playoffs. We're available on thesportstuff.com and iTunes. The boogeyman, Derek Bugard, says you'd better listen or he just might drop the gloves. Call up your courage and brave the Wild with your buddy, Palladino Joey.
And we are back again on Purple Mafia, episode number 36. A reminder for iPod users, and once again, I apologize for the long intro. I'm going to try to shorten the intros more and more as I get in, but it's just an exciting day. I had to kind of do a little talking about Brett Favre in the intro because it's that important. It's just the way it goes. And also, again, I apologize for my voice not being 100%, but at least the sound quality is significantly higher, again, with this new microphone that I invested in. And, of course, this is the second episode ever with this new microphone, and you may have noticed the Timberwolves Explosion ad also had the higher quality voice because it is a new ad. So, yeah, enough of that. First and foremost, we're going to get into the game against the Indianapolis Colts. As I mentioned, abbreviated because I'm not going to get too deep into it. It's more of a Brett Favre day. We'll get a little more into the Kansas City game later on next week's show. Well, I'll do a little talk about the quarterbacks first, since I just might as well. Sage Rosenfels, well, he looked fairly solid. The only problem is they were all on short passes. Now his quarterback rating 95.4, a bit bloated because of that. He completed 10 of 13 passes for only 91 yards. Hence, very short passing. Very short passes, just not much confidence from the coaching staff in general. Just it's a preseason game, a game you don't have to lose, and it doesn't really matter if you do lose, and you still play that ultra-conservative style because there's no confidence in these quarterbacks. And again, Brad Schiller, we're going to get into that very shortly when we get into the Brett Favre talk. Tavares Jackson, 7 of 15 for 39 yards, completed only 46%, a good, outstanding quarterback rating of 53.5. And the best part was, well, he dropped when he cocked back for his first pass of the game, the ball fell to the ground. Spectacular. It's just Tavares Jackson not showing much confidence at all, not showing much confidence in practice either, and also not showing any sense of urgency whatsoever. Sage Rosenfels did, and to be quite honest, he looked the more disappointed one today of the two. Tavares Jackson's comment was more or less today, yeah, it's disappointing. That's basically all he said. Disappointing, but good for the team. Sage Rosenfels looked a little bit more disappointed because he's come a longer way, and you got to say he's the better quarterback of the two right now, the more confident quarterback and competent quarterback of the two right now, and that's just the way it is. John David Booty, whatever. He just looked like John David Booty. That's basically about it. Nothing much to say about him. Albert Young, though, so now we're going to get off the quarterback topic temporarily. Albert Young, pretty solid, pretty impressive. I think he's going to make the team this year. Albert Young out of Iowa. He led the team in rushing, 14 rush attempts, 58 yards, 4.1 average. Nobody broke loose for anything today. The longest carry of the game was by Ian Johnson, 16 yards. He looked good as well, 9 rushes, 50 yards. Very, very solid. Chester Taylor actually scored a touchdown very early in the game on the Sage Rosenfels drive very early in the game. Chester Taylor, very solid. Adrian Peterson limited only 4 touches, and that's fine. We don't need him to get hurt. But, the guys to talk about when you talk about the running game are Albert Young and Ian Johnson. As I believe there'll be 3 running backs on the active roster. Notice I said active roster, and I think Albert Young, it's his turn. Unfortunately, Albert Young, we'll talk about him, he's not great on special teams. But there's other players like Percy Harvin that can make up for that. So, I think Albert Young will be the third running back, at least right now I would say that, and that Ian Johnson will take Albert Young's spot last year. So, basically, Ian Johnson will be, at minimum, on the practice squad. I think he's too good to let go. So, I like what I'm seeing out of both of those guys. Overall, though, the fantasy players out there that are looking at the Indianapolis Colts situation, it's all about Donald Brown, folks. All about Donald Brown. He looked extremely impressive. Joseph Adai, well, he didn't look horrible. He only got 2 touches, though. And a lot of people are expecting Donald Brown to pick things up here. On only 5 rushes, Donald Brown with 58 yards. Joseph Adai with only 2 touches and 13 yards. So, whatever. Visanthe Shenko doing what I think he might do once again this year. Lead the team in receptions. He had 4 catches, 55 yards. Very good game for Visanthe Shenko. Very good game. The greatest part is, though, again, as I said, the longest pass completion of the game was only 17 yards. Not a single pass completion over 17 yards in the entire game for the Minnesota Vikings. I think that's going to change in the not-too-distant future. That's a safe assumption, I think. Jeff Dugan with 2 catches. That's probably about a season high. That's probably like going to be that would be a season high for him in the regular season. He's more of a blocking guy, blocking fullback, blocking tight end. That's just kind of his role. He's kind of like Kleinsasser. Makes some solid little catches here and there. Overall, though, none of the receivers majorly stood out in this game. Other than that, Albert Young with 3 catches out of the backfield. That's a nice sign, again, where I believe he will make the team. Other than that, well, Bernard Berrien did not make a single catch and unfortunately was hurt, and he is still hurt at this point in time. Percy Harvin did not suit up, which was a major disappointment for all of us Viking fans who wanted to see, we really wanted to see Percy Harvin debut. But we'll get to see it in the Metrodome this Friday against the Kansas City Chiefs. He is ready to go. And you saw him make a couple catches from Brett Favre in practice today, at least according to the footage. Nice to see that. Man, I can't wait to see what happens there. Sidney Rice, well, oh goody. 1 catch for 6 yards. Not seeing much yet from him other than he's just a bigger guy. And hey. You had a great freshman year. You had a sophomore slump. Now it's time to step up to the plate. Sidney Rice. This is an opportunity. He needs to step up. The pressure is on. Andre Ellison, of course, long gone. But there's guys like Jamar Johnson. Didn't do much else either. Only 1 catch because the passing game was just invisible pretty much in this game. This is pretty much about the Vikings defense today. So I'm going to pretty much end the whole talk about the offense. And we're going to talk about the defense. E.J. Henderson is back, and he did exactly what a lot of us are expecting him to do this season, lead the Vikings in tackles. 4 tackles for him. Just a really beautiful to see E.J. Henderson back. He's healthy, and he's ready to be a Pro Bowler this year. Absolutely, I can see it. Jared Allen providing tons of energy. He had 3 tackles in the game. Otis Grigsby is a guy I really like Otis Grigsby. I don't think there's any doubt he's going to make the team. I think Otis Grigsby is going to make the team. He had a sack. LaTroy Guyon chipped in 2 tackles. I love LaTroy Guyon. I think he makes the team as well. The guy is very productive in limited time. I mean, LaTroy Guyon, every time I see him play, he does something. Any amount of time he gets to play, he's productive. No matter what time LaTroy Guyon is in the game, he makes himself productive. And that, to me, tells me he is a pro. And it'd be a huge shame if he were to get cut at any point. I don't see that happening, though. I just don't. Eric Frampton looked actually pretty good. Jasper Brinkley looks really good. He at bare minimum will be a really good special teams tackler and a nice backup linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings, the 5th-round pick, Jasper Brinkley. Woof! He's going to definitely be a piece for this team. Heath Farwell returning, and boy, oh boy, oh boy. He looks pretty good. He looks like he's back at it again. Heath Farwell, the special teams specialist. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. The Vikings got to Peyton Manning a lot more than people would expect. Several sacks on Peyton Manning. 3 sacks total on him. 5 sacks for the whole game. Burnett getting a sack. He is a backup linebacker. Ray Edwards getting a sack. Hopefully he can get some more. Jared Allen getting a sack. Excuse me, I saw something wrong there. Excuse me. Jared Allen did get a sack in the game. He was active. Overall, he was active early on in the small amount of time he got to play early. And Fred Evans got a sack. It's just all these defensive linemen, one linebacker and all defensive linemen after that did very good. It was, Asher Allen also. There's a guy I was forgetting. Very, very good in this game. Got to think he is the heavy favorite now to win the nickelback spot. This guy might even be a starter at some point. I think he will start at some point in his career. Marcus McCulley, well, might be the odd man out just because other people are out playing him. That's just how it goes. Overall, it's all about the solid play of the defensive line and the linebackers in this game. I was very, 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 very impressed with the Vikings defense. And when you add an elite quarterback and you have an elite running back already, this is going to be a lot of fun. I think the Vikings are going to have a really, really darn good season this year. As now we're about to segue here to the story of the day, as I try not to cough and try to keep my voice somewhat decent. Brett Favre is a Minnesota Viking. Yeah, I think we've covered that already, but yeah, Brett Favre is a Minnesota Viking. In the press conference today, he brought up an issue that was very interesting to me, something I certainly hadn't heard of, and I didn't see reported in any type of media outlet at all over the course of the past 3, 4, 5 months regarding Brett Favre, and he even mentioned that this probably didn't get out. His rotator cuff. Well, when they looked at his tendon in his bicep, Dr. Andrews also noticed that Brett Favre had a torn rotator cuff, and Brett Favre was pretty upset about that, like, oh, great, a torn rotator cuff, well, I guess I'm done. And he said about 1 million times how scary that is, no matter what. Dr. Andrews, though, did assure that Brett Favre that he wouldn't need surgery as long as he can tolerate it because of the there was a it's such a hard word to say, but calcification. Basically, calcium had formed on the tear to strengthen it, to prevent it from really getting worse, per se, without anything major making it worse. So the calcification allows Brett Favre to play. If he were to have surgery, it's over. The season's over, and most likely he would just have to hang it up because he would be 41 years old trying to return next year. Good luck with that. Trying to return next year from a rotator cuff surgery. Brett Favre, though, as I said numerous times, said, yeah, that's a very scary thing. A very scary thing, and it was one of the things he was worrying about when it came to coming back. So it wasn't just, everybody wants to accuse Brett Favre of just being a media diva and just dramatizing things. That's one of the major things that was kind of holding him back from saying, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play or not. I really don't know. Because he didn't want to come in, as said 1 million times, he didn't want to have the same type of problem with the Minnesota Vikings this year that he had with the Jets last year, where he started out just absolutely phenomenal, and then, boom, hit a wall, and that was just, it was pretty much a disaster after that. I mean, the Jets looked like a possible dark horse to make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, God forbid, they could have made it with the Patriots out of the way. They had an outside chance of going, maybe. But, yeah, and when Brett Favre hit that wall, that was pretty much the end of that story. Brett Favre also, though, in the press conference says that, well, that the pieces are in place. Brad Childress assured him, and he agrees, that with the pieces in place, that Brett Favre won't have to do as much. So he won't have to really wear his arm out like he did with the New York Jets last year. Thomas Jones did do a good job with the New York Jets, by the way, last year. He had a career year, but still, just saying, in general, Favre won't have to do as much, especially with that great defense and the great running game. Those are the two keys to winning a Super Bowl, basically. Brett Favre won't have to wear his arm out quite as much. So, yeah, it's a perfect fit for Brett Favre at this stage of his career. And, of course, the playbook is something Brett Favre is very much aware of already. Another reason why Brett Favre came back is he didn't want to have to say what if, and also he still loves to play. It's not about revenge, Brett Favre says. He said it's not about revenge. His time in Green Bay will be forever cherished. If he came back for 2 games, it'd be a long year. Yeah, if he came back for 2 games to play against the Green Bay Packers, it'd be a long year. It'd be a pointless year, basically, is what it would be. And what happened is Brett Favre went on to say that Childress called yesterday and said, "This is it. Do you want to play?" And ultimately, though, Brad Childress was the one to call Brett Favre, not Favre calling Childress, because, as I said in episode 35, the quarterback situation was not looking good, folks. I mean, let's just give it one last shot. Childress basically gave in, when he said, about 3 weeks ago, saying this is it, ball game, we're done worrying about Brett Favre. He said, "Hey Brett, one last shot. Do you want to come back? This is your last chance to come back." And Favre's like, "Yeah, I don't want to worry about the what ifs." And a lot of us fans, including myself, Palladino Joey, Purple Mafia host of a show that is really picking up steam, by the way, and before Brett Favre. So, am I getting excited about the possibilities now? But yeah, the what ifs would kill Brett Favre. It would kill people like me too, who really want to win, really want this team to win. So, yeah, he needed to come back basically in the end. Another reason why he came back, though. How about this? Brett Favre's daughter, at first just said, Favre asked his daughter, "What should I do?" Basically, just chatting with his daughter casually. She said, "Do whatever you want to do, Dad. Don't worry about it. Basically, don't worry about playing, breaking up the family or something." Basically, is what not being around as much. His daughter then said, "Can you go back and win one more Super Bowl?" And this, of course, was after Brett Favre announced his re-announced his retirement, or reassured his retirement, whatever you want to call it, back, right before my birthday, which was a very painful birthday present at the time, by the way. She said, "Can you win one more? Can you go back and win one more Super Bowl?" And Brett Favre's response to his daughter was, "Oh, couldn't you tell me this earlier?" And that was another motivation thing. His daughter wants him to go back and win one more, and that might sound kind of silly and sentimental, but you know what? Hey, it's like the movies, folks. It's like the movies. Why not? Why not go back and win one more Super Bowl? Wouldn't that be cool? Like Brett Favre like Babe Ruth hitting the 3 home runs for the sick kid at the end of his career. Kind of cool. Now, the issue of the Packer fans being upset with Brett Favre and hating Brett Favre for... this question was obviously brought up to Favre during the press conference about Packer fans being bitter at him for coming to their arch rival or second arch rival. It's either us or the Bears, of course. Brett Favre's response was, "I think true Packer fans would understand that he wants to play. He needs to play somewhere once again, and once again, this is a good fit, that Brett Favre needs to play somewhere, because the things just went awry." And he's saying how a true Packer fan will understand that things went awry, that the management didn't want him back, and that both sides were wrong, basically. Favre should have been more clear about what he wanted to do. The Packers got impatient and said, "Move on. We've got a nice young quarterback who's tired of waiting," basically. And his name is not Tavares Jackson, by the way. Hint, hint. Yeah, hint, hint about how I feel about that situation. Yeah. So that's Favre's response to the big question about Packer fans being bitter towards him. Favre also went on to admit that he can't make some plays he used to make because of his age, and that he does need to know his limitations. He knows that can be a problem with him on occasion, which is good. That's a good sign that he's willing to admit it openly, and he's not going to just say, "I can still do this, still do that," kind of force the issue, so to speak. I mean, Warren Moon did that an awful lot. He always tried to force plays, and it killed the Vikings a lot. Moon kind of always had that problem his whole career. He forced plays, and that's why he was such an interception guy, basically. But Brett Favre went on to say all he wants to do is win, and that's why he came back. He just wants to win, and that's why he came back. And he's got that great opportunity with this Minnesota Viking team. The whole playbook, the whole West Coast offense deal, Brett Favre said how it was really easy to call plays he's familiar with. It was that he didn't miss a beat. And that last year was way tougher than he expected. He thought he could just walk right in. I remember reading the article last year, how he said, I'll probably have no problem picking up this playbook. I know it's way different, but I can do it. I'm a veteran. I'm a However, 38 years old, I can pick this up, no problem. And it was a lot tougher than expected. So that's pretty much how things stood with that. And also that that Brett Favre didn't work out as much in the offseason as he did in the past because he thought it was over. Favre thought it was all over, that he really did think he was going to stay retired. So that's one thing to worry about a teeny tiny bit. He looks like he's in pretty good shape. I'm sure he got caught up. But that's one thing I might be a little concerned about when I hear that. But the good thing about Favre during this whole thing to me was he's honest. He isn't full of it. He's honest. He's telling the truth of the situation. The last 4 years of Brett Favre have been a little shaky. His last good season, other than 2007, was in 2004, where he had 30 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, quarterback rating 92.4. After that, though, he had a pretty tough year in 2005. 20 touchdown, 29 interception, quarterback rating of only 70.9. The next year, 72.7, 18 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. That was in 2006. But then, of course, that big year where the Packers went 13-3, and a lot of young players emerged for that Packer team. 28 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, quarterback rating 95.7. But that's not including the infamous interception he threw to R.W. McQuarters in the NFC Championship game, which was his final pass as a Green Bay Packer. And I still remember to this day screaming out, Brett. Like, Brett! I said that really loud when I saw that, because I wanted to see the Packers in the Super Bowl one last time with Favre, believe it or not. And I'm sorry to say that as a Viking fan, but it would have just been, I'm a Brett Favre fan. And, I'm not a Packer fan, but I'm a fan of the NFL. And when you have a top 5 quarterback of all time, top 3 possibly quarterback of all time, I'm going to give him his due. And I remember doing a video that year praising Brett Favre because, when he passed the all-time touchdown and passer rating, or passing numbers in the Metrodome that year against the Vikings, I gave him his due. He deserves it. And and that was with zero knowledge of him ever becoming a Minnesota Viking or interest of coming here, because at the time he was a full-blooded Packer. And of course, last year, as I said, a couple of shaky years. Last year, outstanding the first 8 to 11 games, and then of course the arm went awry, and he finished with 22 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. And of course, those interceptions really picked up after the arm went awry. His completion ratio, though, has been well over 60 to 65-ish for most of his career. He's definitely an accurate quarterback. It's just more or less every now and then he'll make a bonehead mistake. So that's one thing to worry about. You just hope he won't do it on a drive that could win you an NFC Championship game and in the end helps lose it. So, there's always concerns with any quarterback. Heck, Tom Brady threw an interception against the Indianapolis Colts at the end of 2006, so in the AFC Championship game when the Colts went on to win the Super Bowl. So, hell, even the greatest ever, when in their prime, are going to make mistakes. It's just the way it goes. You take the good with the bad, no matter how bad it is, or how when you have when you have a great quarterback, you take the good with the bad, no matter what. So Dan Barreiro said it best today on his show. It's high risk. You could come out with nothing, but folks, it's an opportunity to make a run. It is absolutely an opportunity to make a run, and you got to do it. As I've said on my show here that you're listening to right now, I've said it in previous episodes when the Favre thing wasn't done. You got to make a run when you have the opportunity. The pieces are in place. Go for it. Give it a shot. Roll the dice. Do it. Nobody's career is getting ruined with Brett Favre here. Tavares Jackson, he has had numerous opportunities to completely take hold of that starting role. He had no competition at all. Brad Johnson was horrible in 2006. I almost said 96. Just tells you how old I am, by the way. But, Brad Johnson was horrible in 2006. So that wasn't much competition there. In 2007, he had Kelly Holcomb and Brooks Bollinger. I almost keep forgetting his name because he's just so irrelevant. Kelly Holcomb and Brooks Bollinger, man. Tavares Jackson looked almost like a star compared to those two. And, yeah, that's pretty pathetic, folks. Last year, there was Gus Farad, but he completely went down the toilet, too. He had a couple of really good games, and then he just looked awful after a while. By the time we got to that Detroit game, or a few games even before that, lots of interceptions, lots of just poor plays. The competition really, truly wasn't there for Tavares Jackson. And, of course, he had the coach's blessing. You know, his birthright was to be the starting quarterback of the Vikings, it seemed. Not anymore. He finally had solid competition in Sage Rosenfels. And, folks, that's the guy I feel a little bit bad for today. A little bit. 9 years in the league, 31 years old. Always had the right attitude. Always been a backup in the NFL. This was his opportunity, a legit opportunity, the first time in his career to be a starting quarterback. It looked like he was gonna win it. Like, you know, you can't judge it off of one game. Childress said it, and I agree with Childress, and I agree with other Viking fans out there that would say, like, you know, like Darren out there, Darren, who said that, yeah, you know, you can't judge it on one game, and no, you can't. But to me, Sage Rosenfels kind of had the upper hand because they didn't give up a draft pick and sign him to a 3-year deal for nothing. I thought he had a legit chance to be the starter, and that's over, at least for the next possible 16 regular season games, as Brett Favre will probably play all 16 games. Probably. It's a pretty safe assumption. It's only been 16, 17 straight years of 16 games for Brett Favre, so, yeah. Even though a lot of the stuff he talked about today was health issues, the rotator cuff, the bicep tendon, you know, other things like that. But and that how it was a little scary going in. But yeah, I can see Favre going all 16 again, especially with the an improving offensive line, I'll say, and an elite running game, and also a receiver that won't make him gun it every time, like Percy Harvin. You can make a short pass to Harvin. So finally, Brad Childress' offense might look a little better that way. Some of those dump passes might turn into really good plays with a guy like Percy Harvin, who will debut at a football stadium near you on Friday. Woo-wee! It's going to be a fascinating night for Viking fans. Harvin and Favre. Harvin and Farvin. No, sorry. I'm really sorry. That was idiotic. But yeah, do check out the purple number 4. It is available. When I clicked on, because I wanted to see how expensive they were in the shipping and stuff on Vikings.com, it said connection interrupted. I mean, every single time I clicked on it, the internet either didn't respond or the connection was quote-unquote interrupted. To me, that just says it was off the charts, folks. Off the charts busy. And good luck getting a Favre jersey in the super early, in the not-too-distant future. But I'm sure you'll have one by the season opener if you get down to it pretty soon. But man, oh man, must they have been busy today. Over 2,000 season tickets sold today, by the way. Single game tickets still very much available. Season tickets still very much available. But I think the whole blackout issue, dead, gone, over as of today. It's over. We're not going to black out a single game this year unless things just completely go down the toilet. But then again, the tickets are already going to be sold, even if things do go down the toilet. So that's pretty much how things stand there. It has been a fascinating day, folks. Fascinating day. As the story first broke yesterday morning, Jay Glazer was hinting that current players on the team were saying that Favre will be here by the third preseason game. The third game of the preseason, as Dennis Green famously would say. A lot of us kind of were like, oh, brother, whatever. There's no way. But at the same time, it's like, you know, yeah, there really might be a way, but let's just believe it when we see it. And then Mark Rosen calls Paul Allen, Paul Allen at 9:30 this morning. And, oh, just the joy. The joy. I was out there mowing lawns and I was just overtaken. I can't believe this. Saying that Brett Favre was on an airplane, headed to the Twin Cities to sign, and it was no rumor. Watching Brett Favre walk off that airplane today. And watching that press conference. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable to see purple number 4. As you know, I used to always jokingly kind of think about, man, what if Brett Favre played for the Vikings? You know, good 10, 15 years ago, I even thought about it. Like, what if Brad Johnson, you know, when Brad Johnson's first stint here, when Johnson was a starter, what if Brad Johnson and Brett Favre switched places? That'd be kind of interesting. I bet the Vikings would be incredibly good with, you know, Chris Carter and Jake Reed and all that stuff, and eventually Moss. And then, of course, last year we were teased for a little bit until he went to the Jets, and now the Packers would not dare send Brett Favre here because that's just against the company policy per se. And then it finally actually happened after all the drama. You know, of course, all the drama this year: the torn bicep, the surgery, the rumors, the white horse talk. Oh, it's for sure going to happen this time. 99% chance, 99.9% chance, 100% chance, and then turns it down the day, 2 days before training camp to break all our hearts. And now, yesterday in the morning it began, and this morning it ended. It's over. Brett Favre is a Viking, at least this year, and he has a team option for next year. Of course, the dollar amount is believed to be $12 million this year, and upwards of 13 to 14 player option next season, should Brett Favre wish to return. So there'll be a little bit of drama, I think, at the end of the season. We'll see. Hopefully it won't be drawn out as much. I'm sure we'll want him back if he's still good, and if he's just, you know, his body's had enough, he'll probably announce it and be done. So do enjoy, folks. Enjoy the season. For Viking fans out there that are bitter and want Brett Favre off this team, sorry, folks, but to me, this is the best scenario for the current team. This is the right thing to do, and you got to go for it. You got to make a run. Pat Williams is not getting any younger. Steve Hutchinson's not getting any younger. Running backs don't last that long, folks. Adrian Peterson is a stud, but look at LT. He was like unbelievable, unstoppable, and then all of a sudden he hit a wall. He's not completely done yet, but he's already past his prime at a not that old age of 30. Same thing happened to Sean Alexander at age 30, hit a wall. Adrian Peterson will be 30 before you know it. So let's try to get something done early and often. Wink, wink. Alrighty. So again, thank you for listening for today's show. Thank you for putting up with my obnoxious, joyous attitude. I'm just thrilled today. I might be a little obnoxious, but I'm thrilled. It's just the right thing to do to me, or for me. It's just, I can't believe it actually happened after all the BS, that we went through. But I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we can finally just sit back and watch some football and enjoy. There's no more questioning. We now have a legit future Hall of Fame quarterback under center. So do enjoy the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Farzine, hey, let's have some fun. Just don't hurt my quarterback. Don't hurt my quarterback. I could call him that now. Be good. That's, of course, Farzine, the host of the Chiefs Zone Show on thesportstuff.com and iTunes. Great guy. But until then, we're going to call it a day here. I don't want this show to get too much longer, so do enjoy. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Take care.